On today's live stream, 5 super addictive minor bebop licks that is going to make you want to practice. That's what we're talking about today. I'm Paul Tobey from Jazzmentl. Thanks for joining me. We're going to be working on the tune Softly as in a Morning Sunrise. Not sure if you like the tune or not. I find it fun to play because it's not complicated, which is a good place to start if you're working on your bebop licks. And I always think it's a good idea to focus on minor progressions rather than major progressions, partly because they're a little more intricate. There's, I think, more things you can do with them because blues tends to creep into them a little easier. And the licks that I'm going to share with you, I've actually written out. I'm going to share that sheet music with you momentarily. Let's get a couple of things out of the way first. Let's do a quick sound check. And I noticed that there's a lot of our deeply committed people in the chat area already. I'll say hi to you in just a second. Let's do a quick sound check. If you can hear my voice okay, let me know, and also the piano. Let me know if the volume is okay for you. If you're on a cell phone, it might not be as loud as you want it to be, but if you're joining us on a laptop or a computer, it's probably fine, or a television. I didn't really, okay, so the piano and your voice are both clearly audible. Very good. Thanks for the feedback on that. As you know, we don't have sound people around here. You are my sound men and ladies. So, lots going on in the chat so far. I can see we've got a good audience today. Let's see if we can just say hi to a few of you. I don't know, Amadeo, from week to week, you tend to be the first person here and the first person in the chat area. So, buongiorno to you, and thanks for coming. Got Piano Man, and let's see, my eyesight's not that great. Got Linda, Shell, Ben, Alan, Rich, Dawn, Victoria. Got hello from Toronto, nice to see you. Will from Alaska, nice. Oh, we got lots of different places covered here today. Got Tom from New Jersey, Keith in Honolulu, Gary, Alan, Susan, and a bunch of others. I'm not going to get to everybody, but I wanted to just say thank you for showing up. I appreciate it. My Saturdays are perfect with you in them. And we're going to have some fun today. I didn't really think about an end reveal. I actually forgot to do that. But I think what I'll do is I'm going to show you a left-hand bass trick for end reveal. Let me just write that on the screen if I can quickly grab it here. So, left-hand bass trick. And then we'll just display that. So that's the end reveal today. If you need a reason to stick around to the end, then there you go. I find that when people walk left-hand bass, they forget a couple of things that can make it easier to keep the feel going. And so you'll hear that throughout today's session in my playing for sure. And you want to listen for those things. But I think it's also important to just show you what I mean by playing a great left-hand bass, especially on a tune like this, which kind of is repetitive. And so you need some ideas to kind of fill out your playing a little bit. So as I mentioned, the tune is Softly as in a Morning Sunrise. The chat area is for questions and comments, and of course you can talk to each other as well and get some ideas going. If you have anything you want me to demonstrate, you can absolutely request that. Let me grab the sheet music link for today. I've written out all of the bebop licks so that you can just download them and practice them. They are very addictive in the sense that When you play them, you'll recognize immediately how they feel underneath your fingers, and you'll just want to just brutally go at them and work them over as much as you can, because they make a lot of sense, and we're going to talk about why they make sense. I've pinned it to the top of the chat. Let me show that on the screen. So there's your download link for today. It's absolutely free. As soon as you grab it, if somebody could let me know that it worked, that would be helpful to not just me, but everyone that's here. Sometimes people have difficulty with it, so it's nice to know. All right, so Softly and As in a Morning Sunrise. We're going to play it in C minor. It's kind of the standard key for this tune. Maybe let me know in the chat area if you've played it before and if it's one of your favorite tunes to play or not, or maybe a little story about when you last played it. I like it because it makes a great solo piano piece, I find, but it's also great to play with a band as well. Things to listen for. Listen for swing, obviously. It is a medium swing tune. It can be very fast tempo, but as a solo piano player, I think you can play fast things within a medium swing tune. So it's not necessarily meant to play super fast, I don't think. I think it sits in the pocket, sort of in the medium swing area. Listen for the bebop lick. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, well, let me show the download on your screen. Oh, I've got it on 2-page view. Well, there it is anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to try to filter in. I'm going to keep it on my screen. You can't see it, but I'm going to keep it there. And during the solo section, I'm going to play each of these bebop licks, not necessarily in order, but whenever I feel they should fit in. So maybe you can look at your sheet music, and thanks for letting me know that you got it. I appreciate that. It looks like the link is working. Jerry and everybody else who chimed in on that one. So follow along the sheet music and try to pick out where I actually play these bebop licks. So that'll be fun. And let's see how this goes. My first thought is I probably should have warmed up before playing. Not everything came out as intended, but it was fun. I hope you enjoyed that. I mean, it's not the cleanest playing on the planet, but it was still fun to play. Got the chart down low. Let's see. I've played the tune, but it's been a while, Alan says. Okay. What did you hear when I was playing? Did you hear the swing feel kind of pretty consistent? One of the interesting things about playing solo piano is you're left to your own devices in terms of time. And what I always try to work on and at least feel is the consistency of time. So no matter what you're doing, if you're playing block chords or lines or patterns or left-hand bass or whatever, keep the feel consistent and don't speed up. Keep it in that pocket where it feels natural. And that's what I like to try to attempt to do when I play tunes like this. Question, do you play, and this is from Alan, do you play the minor bop scale the same going up and down, or do you use major 6th and 7th going up and flat 6, flat 7 going down? We've had this discussion before, Alan. I don't actually think in those terms. So clearly a bebop scale, and I just try to answer the question quickly before I get into today's lesson. If you actually play a bebop scale for C minor, it's basically this. Now, you have to kind of switch it out for the key of the moment. So if the key is E flat, you have an A flat in there, right? So the passing note could be this E natural, which is the typical passing note, right? Now you could play an A natural, but it sounds like this. So that's a little bit different. It depends on the chord that you're playing at the time, but if you can actually play a minor bebop scale over the entire 1 6 2 5, right? 1 6 2 5, and just play that bebop scale, right? Play A natural, it sounds a little bit different. Okay, so I don't know if that answers your question specifically, but I don't actually think about what notes to play going up and going down. It's more about the bebop language, which is really what I wanted to discuss today. So I hope that answers your question for the moment. Thumbs up. Very cool. Just reading some of the comments. Thanks for the free download. You're very welcome. I hope you enjoy it. We're going to actually start into it right now. And a bravo. I like comments like bravo. It's good. Thank you. All right, let's throw you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a screenshot actually so I can write. First of all, I have to change the view on this thing. I had 2-page view so I could play the licks as I was going through. I'm not sure if you actually was following along and you heard. Every once in a while, my eyes would look up at the sheet music and just try to filter that lick in, at least the idea of the lick, even if the notes weren't exactly correct. Page display, single page. There, and then let's take a screenshot. And hopefully that'll show up nicely on the screen. Nope, that's the wrong screenshot. Where'd that one come from? Oh, there's another one open here. That's from last week. Still open from last week. Can you believe it? Okay. So here we go. 5 addictive minor 2-5 bebop licks. It's actually 1 6 2 5. I just kind of like to put 2-5 because everything really is a 2-5. So I've written these out. You can see that the left hand changes a little bit depending on which lick you're playing. The accents are in different places. I think the reason why these are addictive is because it's a natural thing to do with your fingers to play these things. So let's go through them one by one. So the first thing is I haven't practiced these. I wrote them out quickly because this is the way that I play and this is the way that beboppers think. And so I'm going to play them slowly myself. This is the way to practice them. And then what you want to do is you want to speed it up a little bit. Now, interesting thing about this lick is there's several elements. Where's my pen? Here it is. So there's several elements of this thing that you can label as bebop licks. So the first one is this is an enclosure heading to that note. So it's below and two above, below to the destination note. So that's like a 4-note enclosure. It's a very, very common thing to do in bebop. One of the things you might want to practice is do that with each of the chord tones. Or. And they actually can fit together if you do this right. It's not I wouldn't necessarily play like that, but it's a great exercise to just kind of look at the destination note and surround it by these 4-note enclosures. So that's how it starts. And then the next part here, and this is really just so the way to analyze bebop licks. This is a chord. If you actually look at the chord, it's a C minor 9th. Actually 11th if you include the last note. And then this section is descending chromatics. So let's just put chromatics in there. And then this part here is a G7 flat 9 scale. So as you're coming down the scale, it's the third, the sharp 9, the flat 9, and back to the destination note, which is G. So I've had this question before, so I'm going to ask it anyway, even if it doesn't show up in the chat area. And I'll look at your questions in just a second. But the question usually is, do you really think about these things while you're playing? And the answer is no, because I've thought about them before. So this idea of, and if you actually analyze those two bars, right? Look at the first 4 notes, that's an enclosure. The next 4 notes is a chord. The next 4 notes is a chromatic scale. And the next 4 notes is a descending flat 9 scale. Do I think about that while I'm playing? No. I think about the chord changes that are going by, and my fingers gravitate towards these very common bebop ideas. This is the language that you need to learn. It's like learning any language. If you learn French, for example, you break it down into words. Words become phrases. Phrases become sentences. This is a sentence made up of small phrases. The phrases are enclosure, chord, chromatic scale, descending flat 9 scale. And the reason why it's addictive is because if you just play that over and over again, and you can end on different notes, you can change it a little bit. But the idea is the same. So whether you change the notes up or whether you use exactly what's written, that's the feel of bebop. Okay? So that's your first minor bebop lick. Let's see if there's any comments about that. I may have missed it, but would you kindly state what the bebop note is on a minor scale? Also, isn't the E flat major bebop note a natural? B, and why isn't that the C minor bebop note? Okay, so two questions in there. The first one is, what is the passing note or the extra note on a minor bebop scale? In this case, it's always like the natural third. And the reason why that is because C minor typically floats into F7, and then you get this. So on an F7 scale, the passing note is the same. It's that E natural because it's what beboppers thought would make the best extra note for that scale. Why is it? It just sounds good. Da-ba-doom, bebop, right? So you've got the scale. And then the next question is, well, what is the passing note for an E flat bebop scale? And the reason why it's the flat 6 or the sharp 5 is because it's the most obvious note in this scale to make the sound that you're looking for. It doesn't mean you can't use the flat 2. It just sounds a little different. I can't even play it because it's not normal, but. But the flat 6 or the sharp 5, again, the reason why it's different from, like, because the question is, well, why wouldn't it be the natural third? Because it just sounds, it creates a flat 9 with the root of the chord, so it's kind of not a normal note to use. Whereas this note, it's sort of a more natural progression. Okay. Plus, if you always played the same passing note for all of 1-6-2-5, it would just sound a little weird and just not as bebop-y as it could. I hope that answers your question. Piano Man says, know the tune, haven't played it for years. Will again, thank you, you're welcome. Inspiring, thank you. Great explanation of the first 4 bars. Yeah. Well, it's not just a great explanation, it's the only explanation. That's where it comes from. It's not necessarily, it's like, oh, let's create some explanations. It's like, well, that's the language itself. So thank you for the comment. Playing always 8 notes is nice. I get what you're saying. I agree. Great practice examples. Okay, perfect. We're caught up on the chat. Let's continue on. We're going to move down to the next one, which is the same progression. You'll notice that I put an A7 in there. It doesn't have to be A7. Could be A half diminished 7th. It could be even A flat 7. It really depends on how you feel in the moment. Like sometimes I'll play this progression. I'll go to the flat. I'll go to the A flat in the bass. Versus the A natural, which is this. So there's subtle differences between the two. So that second chord is up for grabs. You can play whatever one you want. Then the third chord, D7, it's either D7 or D half diminished 7th. So again, it's your choice. I like dominant 7th chords because they make nice chordal voicings. And you'll see that as part of my voicings in this thing in certain places. All right, let's tackle the actual progression. Whoops. Why am I making marks over there? Because I can't see what I'm doing. Okay. This is a chord. Same chord as this one. It's a C minor chord. And you'll notice that the C minor chord over A7 works really well because it's like a dissonant thing. So I love the way this one goes. You've heard that before a million times. Listen to this. Okay? It's a chord, C minor. And then when you get to the D7, of course, this was the destination note of the chord, which was D. And then you've got your chromatics again, except it's a little bit different. So what we have is a 4-note enclosure leading to the chord tone of G7, which is the third of the chord, and then just coming down the scale to get to C minor. That's addictive because that is true bebop sound. Is there other ways to play that? There's 1,000 other ways to play it, but each one of them can be analyzed in the context of those little short words and phrases. This here, by the way, this is what we call, I think, a turn. Not exactly sure if that's the right terminology, but basically what you're doing is you're hitting the third of the chord and then the flat 9 of the G7 chord. That's a very common thing. Or that. Right? That's, if you're going to play bebop, you have to, on dominant 7th chords, especially the main dominant chord, not necessarily subdominants, it could work there too, but on the main dominant chord, getting to that third and then going up to the flat 9 is a very common thing in bebop. You'll notice that I'm not playing the right hand exactly as written, or the left hand. Let me try that. Okay? You can really, they're just suggestions, the left hand. You can really play whatever you want there, whatever chord voicings you feel is going to work. But the main point here is that you can break those phrases down into the sentence down into little phrases, little what we call stitz bits. Put the two lines together. So we're going to play the first line. Put them back to back. You might get this. Great, right? Love this stuff. I think what happens with a lot of players is we get bogged down into analyzing chords when we should really be thinking in these little bebop phrases, the language itself. That's what's really going to make your playing more authentic and definitely a lot more fun. It's certainly a lot more fun than just playing scales. Versus this. I mean, it just sounds more authentic. Would you agree? Thank you for breaking down the bebop pattern. I'm just reading some of the comments now. Playing always 8 notes is nice. Oh, we already had that. Great practice examples. Bebop notes get the downbeats to be chord tones. We've talked about this before. It is a good idea to put the chord tones on the beat as the destination note. And you'll notice that in these examples so far, the chord tones typically fall on the beat. Is that set in stone? No, but it is a good idea. Depending on who you talk to, I think what happens is the more modern harmonic progression you get, the more modern your playing becomes, the more atonal it becomes. So if you really want to play authentic bebop, you want to play these little phrases that match the chords themselves. Whereas if you're playing modern jazz, it kind of floats a little bit more like this. You know, it's kind of like a different sound. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to get our brain and our fingers and our dexterity used to that bebop sound. And then you can take it somewhere else. Because unless you kind of break it down for the listener in terms of these phrases and chords and scales, unless you break it down for them, they get a little bit confused about what the ear is supposed to be listening to. Of course, there's rhythm in here. You've got bass and drums happening. There's a lot going on for the ear, but I think it's a good idea as a player to really get used to the chords themselves and how to make these bebop phrases around the chords. I'm not sure how to help you with that, Melissa. You said receive the download link, but it keeps sending me back to the page to request the free download link. Melissa, my email is paultoby62@gmail.com. If you still can't get the download by the end of today's session, send me a personal email and I will send it to you. I'm not sure what the issue with that is. You may have to clear your browser cache in order for it to work. So try that first. If that doesn't work, send me an email and I'll sort it out for you. Other people were successful, so I'm thinking it's unique to you unless other people are having the same result. So please let me know. Speaking of being on the beat, I don't think you have the bebop that you were singing earlier in any of these licks. But when you do that, is the bebop usually on the beat? I don't actually understand that question, Allison. Let me read it again one more time. Speaking of being on the beat, I don't think you have the bebop that you were singing. Oh, this bebop, right? When you do that, that's off the beat. So what happens is when you do this bebop, that the bop is on the and. So yes, in these examples, we're focused more on the sort of like one beat phrases, one beat phrases that make up this long sentence. Could I have ended bebop? Yes, I could have. I'm not sure why I didn't do that, but that seems obvious. So yeah, bebop ends on the and. That's the and of the beat, right? So yeah, but if you actually look at the phrases, they're inherent within them. So yeah, it's kind of 6.5 when 6 or half a dozen of the other is the expression, I think, something like that. Melissa, you're welcome. Allison, yes. Thank you. Bebop. Lawrence, thank you. Okay. Let's go on to the next one, and maybe what we'll do is we'll take Allison's suggestion and we'll end the phrase on a bebop instead of just on the beat. So let's go and do that. what I need to know here is where are we at on the page? Okay, so we have, so now we're working, so this is number 1. And for some reason it's not writing. Here we go. 1, 2, and this is, we're on the 3rd phrase now. And you'll notice they don't always start on the same beat. So this one starts on beat 2 here. This is one of my favorites, actually. I like this one because it's, and I'll tell you why in a second, but basically what we're doing here is, and this is where the scale people come in. This is just a C minor scale. It's not actually even a bebop scale, it's just the scale itself. Heading to the destination note, which is the 3rd of D7. And then, can somebody tell me what this is? How does that make sense? Let me play it one more time and maybe you can hear it. I think it's obvious, but I'll wait for an answer to see if somebody gets it. Rich says the tune is 100 years old. You make it sound so fresh. Is it 100 years old? I had no idea. Did you look that up? I actually don't know. I'm looking for an answer on what that blues. Yes, you got it. It's absolutely blues. So that's where I think minor progressions come into it a lot when you have the opportunity to play blues. It's like, it's just so, it's a sound that makes so much sense. Why? Because it's the flat 3rd of C minor. So as soon as you have a flat 3, you automatically think blues scale. So we do that here. It's interesting, though, that the C minor blues scale has this passing note, which ends up being the 3rd of D7. So it works, right? One of my favorite things to end this off with is here. So if you look back at this phrase here, it goes down to the 3rd and up to the flat 9. This time it starts on the 3rd, but it doesn't get to the flat 9 to here. So it doesn't jump automatically there. It goes here and then ends on an enclosure to head to this note. So you got over, under, and back to that note. So you can see that everything in bebop is analyzable. Is that a word? Everything in bebop can be analyzed. Love that. One of my favorites. Might want to just try that. Just kind of like put a loop on it. And so then Allison's suggestion was, why do they always end on 1? Why not bebop? So let's change it. So what we're going to do is, instead of this C natural, or sorry, G, where it ends here, I'm just going to get rid of that if I can. And let's change it to this. We're going to go to G as a 8th note, but then we're going to play bebop. So it can be any note you want, really. But I think, yeah, just go down to the root in this case. And that makes the bebop sound. So let's play it like that. Yeah. Good idea, Allison, by the way. Or go back to the flat there, or there's lots of things you can do. down a whole octave. And it kind of keeps it going. If you go to the root, it kind of like stops it a bit. Yeah, fun stuff, right? Beautiful. Good suggestion. None of this would be possible without your input. Allison says, we knew you'd have to throw a little blues in. Yes, never miss an opportunity to throw in the blues. Okay, we're almost there. We're now on, wow, and time is just ticking away like crazy. Time flies when you're having fun. Would you agree? Let's get analyzing the last two. And then I'll play one more time, and then we'll do end reveal. Just need to make sure I'm writing on the right place. Okay, so the next one is at the top of your screen now. So this is a chromatic scale. I love chromatic scales. You can't overuse them, but when you do use them, they work great. I'm just going to make sure I write it in red instead of black. So this is chromatic scale. Right? All the way down to the destination note, which is here, the fifth of D7. Oh, sorry. Right. So you've got this enclosure heading to the G natural. Remember, there's three flats here, right? Which I forgot for a second. And this is just a chord. This is G7 flat 9 chord. It's actually diminished, right? So that's flat 9, third, fifth, and 7 of G7 to the destination note C, but you could also do bebop there as well. There's a lot of ways to play that last four notes, but this is the way that it's written. Okay, so there you go. Let's do the last one, which I'm going to have to take another screenshot because it's way at the bottom of the page. And then we'll play the tune again. Oh, and as I'm now looking at the chat, there's a question here from Friedrich. Is it typical for bebop to let almost no space between the lines? Should there be short and long phrases? Yes. Yes, it is. It depends on how the player is feeling in the moment. If you don't put any space, you have to be very inventive because it can get monotony. You can have, it gets almost too much for the ear if you just keep it going like this. It's nice to break that up. You can see that the ear has a chance to get a break in between the phrases, in between the sentences. So yeah, it is typical to, it is not typical for bebop to have almost no space, although it depends on the player. If it's, for example, John Coltrane, he tended to not leave much space, but he was also very inventive with the phrasing within those long lines. I think the longer the line, the more inventive you need to be. If you give breaks, it makes the ear kind of go, oh, we're on to a new sentence, and I need to understand and hear this sentence the way it was intended. Thank you for the question. D half diminished seventh better than D7? Not better, different. So for example, if you played a D half diminished seventh, you've got an F natural, where if you got D7, you got an F sharp, which is part of the blues scale, which gives you more opportunities. But they're not better, they're just different. So let's play D half diminished seventh. Hear that? Right? The F natural is very prominent in D half diminished seventh. If you play D7, that's a different sound. Listen to this. Subtle, but different. Okay, let's do the last one. Screenshot. Okay. So this one starts on blues here. From here to here, this is the destination note, which is the sharp 9 of D7. Interesting, right? But this is blues. Interesting that we're using the destination note sharp 9 here. I think the reason for that is it just kind of adds a little bit of color. There's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just that's where we ended up. And then you do an enclosure to F. This is A flat, of course. So it's kind of like an over destination note. Could be also chromatics, but I really think of it like an enclosure. And of course, this is just a G7 chord here, ending up on C. Finally got it right on the last go round. So there you go. There's 5 really addictive. I think they're super addictive, to be honest. I love this style of playing, and I hope you enjoy it and you get to practice that. When we come back after I play, the end reveal is going to be a left-hand bass trick that I may have talked about it before, but it's still fun to do, and I think it's worth repeating even if I've done it before. Just a couple of comments. D half diminished seventh or D minor 7 flat 5 equals B flat 13. Doesn't equal it, but you can use the same voicing for both. So this voicing, if you're looking at B flat as the root, it's a B flat 7 with a 13, right? 13. So third, flat 7, 13, 9. If you put a D in the bass, it's a half diminished chord without the third. So you can use the voicing the same for both. So the question should not be, are they the same? Which, are they equal? No, but you can use the same voicing for both. Doesn't mean you can't use other voicings for those. Those are just suggestions. Thank you. Thanks for the different demos. You're welcome. Love what you're playing in the left hand. Would you consider doing a tutorial on how to play the left hand over lines? I will. And actually, the end reveal is going to show you a little bit about that in a second. Are you playing that F sharp? I don't know. In what context, Piano Man? Are you playing that F sharp? I need a longer question in order to answer it. Oh, my love Bebop always. Okay. Let me play the tune again. Let's see how it goes. And then we'll come back and do end reveal. Billy's Bounce, Bebop, Please. I think Billy's Bounce, isn't that this tune? Isn't that Billy's Bounce? Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, a bebop Android swing course, please. Okay. Nice tune and nice exercises. Thanks a lot, Paul. You're welcome. You're most welcome. Best wishes to you and Nancy from Francia. Thank you. Fun. Would you call these leading tones in the bass great ghost notes? Yeah, they are ghost notes. The passing notes. So that's actually what I wanted to talk about. So end reveal. Left hand bass trick. So I think, Rich, you're kind of leading into what I wanted to discuss here. So one of the things that we tend to do when we play left hand bass is we think more like scales, right? And that's kind of a normal thing to do. But the thing is, you really want to keep the feel going. And that's where the ghost notes come in. So when you got things like this. So think about 1, 6, 2, 5. Sorry. So we're going to go up to A flat from below, then down to D, and then up to G. And then what I like to do, and what the trick is play eighth notes. So you're still going down to D, but you're ghost noting it with the A. Really slowly, E flat, A, D. And then do the same thing to C, where you're going to ghost it with the D flat and the fifth of the chord. So the trick would be to keep that going and then try to figure out what the right hand is doing. Might want to start with chords first. Just can't help but feel swing in this particular section. And it's a great tune for it because you're just really dealing with 1, 6, 2, 5. If you, by the way, went down to flat 6, you could do that. Makes it a little more dissonant and it sounds a little more interesting. But let's just stick with 1, 6, 2, 5. 1, 6, 2. I went to 3 instead of 1 there. So I went to the third, the natural third, which kind of makes a different sound. I did was I dropped the bass line from E, playing quarter notes instead of eighth notes, right? And that's my little left-hand bass trick. Ghosting notes. Kitchen sink bebop. Okay. Paul, did that which included Billy's bounce. Paul did that which included, yeah. Okay. I'm not sure what that means, but thanks. Yardbird Suite, somebody wants. Okay, we'll get there. C-Jam Blues. That's actually a great thing to do with C-Jam Blues, because what happens is a lot of times you'll just play the C7 chord. Right? And instead of playing that just chord in the left hand, play 1, 6, 2, 5. Not like Oscar, but that's the idea anyway. Okay, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you got the download link. It's at the top of the chat, pinned there. It will be there until the session ends. Go grab it quickly if you do not have it, because those bebop licks, I spent time putting them together, and I think they're useful. And they're addictive, and bebop is addictive, and jazz is addictive, and Saturday live streams are addictive. Everything is great for my addictive personality. So much fun hanging out. I appreciate all of you. You make my Saturdays super addictive and interesting. And I bid you farewell. I will see you next Saturday, same time, same place, here on the Jazzmentl YouTube channel. I did send you in your download email an offer for Take 5. It is easily the best-selling piece of sheet music, which is a complete transcription of a solo that I did on an album. It sells at least every other day, if not every day, and you'll never see it at a lower price than I sent you the email for, and people love it. I get great feedback on it. It's a great way to learn 5/4 time and being able to solo over this lovely progression, which I think everybody should know. And then I solo over it, and the entire transcription is written out. Again, you'll never see it any less expensive. I put it on sale once a year, and this is your opportunity to grab it at that sale. It's good until Sunday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. Thanks again for hanging out with me. Nancy and I bid you farewell, and hope you have a great week.